What's going on, guys? It's Dre here. I hope you're all doing well, doing good, enjoying your day. Demon Slayer Season 2 focused on Tengen Uzui, the Sound Hashira, and I wanted to give you my honest thoughts about how strong I think he is. Just to clarify, I'm strictly going by what I've seen in the anime only. I haven't read the manga, so I'd appreciate a spoiler-free comment section. And if you haven't seen the anime yet, well,
get out of here.
Yeah, this video will have anime spoilers, so stop watching if you haven't seen it yet. I don't want to spoil it for you. Now, bear in mind, everything I say in regards to this topic is personal opinion only. Some of you may agree, some of you may disagree, and that's calm. But just know, I'm not hating on Tengen Uzui in the slightest. It's all just for discussion purposes. Quite frankly, he stole the show from me in Season 2 and has some of the coolest fighting styles I've ever seen. He really proved to us all why he calls himself the god of flashiness. But anyway, let's talk about his appearance first. So, Tengen Uzui, the god of flashiness, is probably one of the drippiest characters in my opinion, and also one of the tallest. According to Gyotaro, he's well over 6 foot, so I'd assume he's maybe 6'4 or 6'5, which makes him the second tallest Hashira, and he seems to be the only Hashira that dual wields. Back in Season 1 we got to see all of them, and apart from him, I don't think anyone else wielded more than one Nichiren blade. Although Gyome's and Obanai's blades are hidden, so we'll have to wait and see what theirs look like and if they have more than one. In terms of Uzui's personality, it surprised me the most. At the end of Season 1 he seemed like this unbothered show-off, a bit of a narcissist, and whilst those elements still exist, he also has a funny side, being easily annoyed by Tanjiro and the gang, but at the same time he had a big bro figure. Like when Inosuke and Zenitsu hopped off the wagon, he quickly went to go and find them and make sure they don't get into any trouble. And when Zenitsu went missing, you could see how distressed he was, and he even asked Tanjiro and Inosuke to leave out of fear he would lose anyone else. So even though they annoy the hell out of him, he still cares, just like Rengoku. He just has another way of showing it. And as a Hashira, you're supposed to protect the younger ones, so you wouldn't expect any less from Uzui. In terms of combat, he's very quick and is showcased multiple times in this season. He's known for appearing so quickly that no one notices his presence up until he actually arrives. Ironic that he's called the Sound Hashira, but you don't hear a peep out of him. Especially since he's a big guy too, the fact that he doesn't make any noise with his movement is crazy. He even avoided one of Tanjiro's infamous headbutts, and you could say, so what, Tanjiro ain't Hashira level, he's currently a Kano, so it would make sense for Uzui to easily avoid it. But hold on, how come Sanemi didn't dodge it? How come Gyotaro didn't dodge it? Well, in Sanemi's case, I initially thought he let himself get hit on purpose so he'd have a reason to kill Tanjiro or Nezuko. But honestly, I think Tanjiro purely provided the element of surprise that no one was expecting. When Tanjiro hit Sanemi, that's the first time anyone witnessed it. And you could see how shocked everyone was, including Obanai, who pointed out Tanjiro's capabilities, and Sanemi, who clearly wasn't prepared to dodge, block or parry it. And given that Nezuko's life was in danger, they wouldn't expect him to do something as drastic as that. Given the situation Tanjiro was in, he did something unpredictable. I almost forgot to mention that Uzui brought this up in the evening meeting they had later that day as recognition for Tanjiro's potential, so he definitely took a mental note of that. And for Gyotaro, well, he hadn't seen it before either, and even if he wanted to dodge, he'd be a little sluggish given that Tanjiro managed to stab him with a wisteria-laced kunai. I think Uzui is just lucky to have witnessed it first rather than received it first. But it still showcases strong combat IQ, as he's more than prepared for an attack Tanjiro occasionally uses. You could also say that him and the other Hashira we've already seen are leagues above the lower ranks. His unique sound abilities allow him to hear the faintest of sounds, so he's great at finding hidden areas, and when he finally showed up in the back half of the season, he managed to save Tanjiro and Nezuko whilst decapitating Daki at the same time, which was something I don't think anyone expected. And yes, I think without Gyotaro, Daki would definitely be a lower ranking demon, maybe taking Enmu's spot since she did have a bit of a tough time against Tanjiro and he almost killed her in the process. Not disputing the fact that she's killed 7 Ashira, or so she claims, but she must have had help from Gyotaro at the time. This goes back to why Muzan disbanded the lower ranks since they're always getting killed by Hashira anyway, and Uzui made another example of that. Let's be real, Daki, you got carried, literally and metaphorically. When Gyotaro showed up, this is where things got interesting, and I'm gonna start with an unpopular opinion. Now I know we haven't seen the rest of the Hashira fight yet, so I'm taking this with a pinch of salt. But honestly, I felt like Uzui was the weakest Hashira. I do have reasons for this, most of which is plot related, so let me explain. Uzui had 2 opportunities to decapitate Gyotaro, who was vulnerable on both occasions, and on his second attempt Uzui got cut himself. So there's a clear disparity in speed between the two, and given that Gyotaro was the lowest of the upper ranks, all the remaining Hashira must already be or are going to be stronger than Uzui in the coming seasons, since the upper rank demons that are left are going to be stronger than Gyotaro. so logically speaking, Tengen is the weakest. And when you compare this situation to the Rengoku vs Akaza fight, you could say that Rengoku performed better. He fought an uninterrupted 1v1 and managed to hold off an upper 3 all the way till sunrise. Not to mention that the Flame Hashira came very close to killing him at one point. Then again, Akaza was trying to recruit Rengoku at first, so he may not have been going at full power. But I will still have to say Rengoku is most likely stronger than Uzui, based off the fact that he had a better time with an upper 3 compared to Uzui fighting an upper 6. However, I won't dispute the fact that from then on he was poisoned, so was already put at a disadvantage for the rest of the fight, hence why he had to rely on Tanjiro to keep up with Gyotaro. That didn't stop him though. Uzui, despite the handicap, fought very well. He showed great battle IQ as he was able to quickly check if the building was clear using his sound abilities, and he figured out how to defeat both Darky and Gyotaro with quick thinking, which is comparable to that of Rengoku. He started off on a 2v1 and was able to decapitate Darky a second time whilst barely grazing Gyotaro's neck all in quick succession, and he did this whilst holding onto his blade with his index finger and a thumb. The physical strength and mental fortitude he has to do this and shrug off poison is insane. He also showed off some crazy moves and even one of his breathing forms. They don't call him the god of flashiness for no reason. Now obviously this soon turned into Gyotaro taking on a 2v1 instead, as in some parts of the fight Uzui needed Tanjiro's help. The poison was bad enough that he couldn't fight him alone, and it makes sense. Gyotaro really holds up to his name as an upper rank demon. And when Uzui and Gyotaro fought alone just for a moment, he got folded.
Oh my god.
Lost his hand in the process as well, but this is where things got interesting. My perspective of Uzui's strength changed. In the final stages of the battle, Uzui, who I thought was potentially dead at the time, actually showed up, and was so fast he was able to save Tanjiro, who was only a millimeter away from death. Turns out he had finally mastered the musical score technique. Now it's essentially Uzui's way of learning an attack pattern by turning Gyotaro's blood demon art attacks into a song so you could read his movements. Basically, it's a sound-based Sharingan, but it seems like it would have taken some time to perfect since he could barely keep up with him in the early stages of the fight. Here's my theory. I think Uzui took the time he had when fighting Gyotaro to learn his attack pattern, whilst enduring a lot of punishment in the process, and the minute he went down, all we know is that he used his muscles to stop his heart so he could prevent the poison from spreading. But I think in addition to that, he may have been partially conscious and used this opportunity to memorize the attack pattern in his head for an all-out flashy finale. And holy crap, did he exceed his limits. Uzui went on to fight Gyotaro evenly matched, while still under the effects of the poison, and only with one hand. Imagine fighting an upper rank demon that hasn't been killed in hundreds of years with one hand. That makes you realize how dangerous Uzui can be. And you could tell that Gyotaro was putting in maximum effort, but with the help of the musical score, Uzui went untouched for the majority of the final battle. Obviously, Gyotaro did gain the edge towards the end, but if it wasn't for Uzui's help, Tanjiro wouldn't have managed to get the killing blow. Now this makes me think, this is a what if situation, but imagine how strong Uzui would have been if he'd mastered the musical score, had both his hands, and wasn't poisoned. I honestly think he could have just about beaten Gyotaro on his own if that were the case. So overall, I think weak is definitely the wrong word. Tengen Uzui is not weak in the slightest. His unique sound abilities and fighting style make him a dangerous person to run into. However, I will still rank him as the lowest Hashira in terms of strength. If I had to put him on a tier list, at base level I'd put him in B for strength, drip wise S+ of course, but honestly, the first scene with him and Gyotaro is the main reason I put him so low. As I said before, he missed both opportunities to decapitate the lowest upper rank demon. The musical score technique is overpowered though, so that would definitely put him in A tier or nearing S tier if he was consistent with it. But to praise other Hashira and question your own talent whilst going on to fight an upper rank under the effects of poison with one hand, pulling off something like that just shows you how ridiculously strong Uzui can be. Even though Obanai mocked him when he showed up, he still gave him praise and wanted him to continue fighting despite his injuries, which show you just how much belief and potential he sees in him. So it's not that he's weak, he's immensely strong. It's just that the other Hashira are probably that much stronger, and that makes me hopeful for the coming seasons. Ever since Rengoku died, I was worried that the upper ranks were going to outmatch the remaining Hashira on a one-on-one basis, which is most likely still true. They're not going to be easy fights since they haven't been dethroned for centuries. But Uzui's praise for them is reassuring that we're definitely going to see even more flashy fight scenes and incredible power from the rest of the Hashira. I'm so excited that I came this close to reading the manga, but I'm going to hold off. What did you guys think? Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know what you think of Tengen Uzui's strength in the comments below. It's been Dre, take care and see you next time.
God.